Now we know the JavaScript module which contains the properties and methods related to each other. This special is really gonna help you understand AngularJS modules well. We'll start with the module first, as module is a one-stop shop for creating most of the AngularJS components. After the inception of AngularJS version 1.3, creating a module is necessary. And that's a good idea because while working in a team environment, modules seems to be a requirement. And any application is gonna have at least one module. So let's create our first module. Are you excited? Okay, so I'm gonna start with a simple HTML5 document. First of all, we need to download the AngularJS source file. So let's open any of your favorite browser. I'm gonna use Chrome. Go to angularjs.org. Click on the download button. You'll get this pop-up. So you can go for older versions using this stable tab or the latest one using the latest tab. The build option tells you about the developer version or production version. I mean, if you go with the minified build option, your code will be compressed one, kind of not readable to humans. And if you go with the uncompressed tab, you can download the human readable source code. Then you can click on the download button here and you're gonna have latest source code of AngularJS. But I'm gonna go with the previous versions option specified here. If you click on this link, it will take you to all the previous versions of AngularJS. So you can see these are all the previous versions of AngularJS right from the start to the latest. I'm gonna use the 1.3.0 stable version. So you can see here, there are a lot of JS files because AngularJS itself is divided into modules. So all of these files are different modules, like one for animation, one for routing, and one for touch-based applications. The file which we are interested in now, and this is the main file of the framework, is this file, angular.js. So I'm gonna download the developer version and not the minified one. The developer version file makes our life easier while debugging the application. Okay, so we got the source code. Let's copy and paste the file to our project folder. Now to use the script file, we can include it using the script tag. Okay, so now we have the script file. It's time to see how we can create our first module. This script file angular.js has one of the global variable exposed called Angular. We can use this Angular object to create a module. Sometimes I like to move into the source file and see how this is happening. So let me open this angular.js file. You know what? I feel we should not be afraid of going into the source code. At last, it's a JavaScript file written by some of the smart computer science engineers. So you can see here on this line number 258, they have created an object called Angular on Windows object if it doesn't exist. So this is how we get this Angular object available to us to create our module. Now we can create the module from this global Angular object by calling a function called module. Let's go and check where this module function is defined. Here, and it takes 3 parameters. Cool. When I started learning AngularJS, I heard of 2 parameters only. But trust me guys, if we dig a little more into the code, we can know a lot of hidden secrets. So this function takes 3 parameters and we use 2 of them most of the time. The first one is the name of the module and second is the array of dependencies. This means this module can load other modules as a dependency. The third one is a function called a config function, and I'm gonna explain it more in coming lectures. So when we call this angular.module function, this function returns us an object. You wanna see that? Let's dig more into our angular.js file. If you see inside this module function, we are creating an object called module instance. And we are returning this object here inside this function. There are a lot of other different things happening here, but I'm more interested in this module instance. Once I have this module instance, I can use it to create different AngularJS component. You can see inside this object here, it has exposed some API for us, like provider, factory, service, value, constant, and so on. I think now you might be getting the flavor of something we discussed in our special. Here also we are getting the public API exposed by module function. And all of these functions are written here inside this JavaScript file. So let's create our first module by calling angular.module function using module name as a first argument and second argument as dependencies. Also, let's log it to the console. I'm gonna run this and see. Let's open the console window. Great. So you can see I can call this function to create all of these AngularJS components. Something more I want to explain about modules, which is important. This angular.module function has two different behaviors based on past arguments. So if I remove this second argument from this function, instead of creating a module, it will look for the existing module with this name. And if it finds it, it will return that to us. That means this function behaves like a getter function when one argument is passed, and setter function when two arguments are passed. Simple. The good thing is Angular throws an exception if you try to create a module without second argument. So I'm going to remove the second argument, refresh the application. You can see we are getting this long error. Module, my app is not available. So in summary, you just need to keep in mind we can create a module using angular.module function and pass it two required parameters. First, the name of the module, and second is its dependencies. Third parameter is optional.